Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze versus Donkey Kong Bonanza. And originally I had played Bonanza without having played much of the other 2D DK games. For whatever reason, I went back and I, tried to play those games. I used to watch my sister play them, and it was like some of my favorite experiences. But something about how the games handle just doesn't really click for me. Kind of reminds me of I have so much appreciation for Super Metroid, but something about the way the mechanics handle now, does just feel dated for me. And I'm such like a tactile kind of guy. Like I need really good response and feel from the movement of a character in a game that I'm playing, especially when it's a 2D platformer. And so anyway, I finished Bonanza. I had considered it, one of my favorite games. I absolutely loved it. And I went on to say, I want to play more Donkey Kong. And so I picked up Tropical Freeze. And I had played Tropical Freeze like the first, maybe 6 levels or something, up to the first boss before. But that was during my maniacal, ego-centric, ridiculous days where I was every game I approached, I needed to prove that I was really good at, I didn't need to be the best, but I needed to prove that I was very good at anything I approached in gaming. And so, I picked up Tropical Freeze, and, there's so much to collect in each level. And I was like, oh, I'm a good gamer. I am going to get every single collectible in every single level as I go through. And it was psychopathic. It was the worst way to play the game. I can't imagine ever playing any game like that where you're spending, 10 tries on each level just trying to make sure you get every single thing in order without experiencing the natural momentum of the game. But yeah, personal tangent aside, I am now playing through Tropical Freeze, and I am blown away by it. It might end up being one of my absolute favorite games. And I've come to enjoy it even more than Bonanza, and that's something that I didn't expect at all. Bonanza really knocked me on my ass in terms of just nonstop thrills. It is so fun to just explore, and there's so much about it that they just nailed so many different levels. I mean, the music, the feel of the platforming is very similar to Odyssey, where you get dropped in this world and you just want to play around in it. It's perfectly encapsulates the sandbox genre, and I love that about it. But going into Tropical Freeze, I was like, well, this is a very different kind of game, right? It's much more stripped back. It is a traditional 2D platformer. And when I considered, what I would go into Tropical Freeze thinking, I was like, maybe lower my expectations, because Bonanza really knocked it out of the park for me. I'm a big 3D platformer guy. They're generally some of my favorite games, but I do also love 2D platformers. But I knew that, Tropical Freeze, it came out a long time ago. And so, I figured it must be pretty dated in a lot of ways. But I have found the opposite, where I am enjoying Tropical Freeze even more than Bonanza. And the reasoning is really interesting to me. Comparing these two games is really fascinating because they have entirely different design philosophies. I think it was Coney, the Smash streamer, former Smash streamer and variety content creator, that said that Donkey Kong Bonanza is like cotton candy. It's just nonstop fun, and you're just eating mouthfuls of it and just having the greatest time, just with a smile on your face the whole time. And the limits of something like that is that, cotton candy, it's not going to change throughout the course of the game that much. I will say the finale of Donkey Kong Bananza is so phenomenal that, that is when I feel the game gets truly elevated beyond its usual static level of of quality. I think the finale is just one of the greatest finales in any game. And so I was thinking about that metaphor with the cotton candy, and approaching Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, wondering how it differs in that way. And I came to the realization that there is like this antithetical approach in Tropical Freeze versus Bananza, in that Tropical Freeze is such a measured game, and it is such a detailed progression of a formula, and you can see it in every level, in every boss fight. Especially the boss fights are just masterful. The way that you escalate, or the way that the game escalates the challenge throughout by adding more and more mechanics that you have to adapt to on the fly in this game, is incredible. I mean, it happens early on with like the minecart levels, even when, generally you're just doing 2D platforming with them and you have to make really quick decisions. But then they start throwing, loops at you. All of a sudden you have to duck things. And then at other times, you have to, jump very early to jump over like a shark that comes out of the water. And like all these elements just keep like mounting and increasing what the game asks of you. And that's very different already than Bananza, because Bananza, back to the cotton candy metaphor, it's very easy. There is very little challenge. Some of those final challenge levels can get difficult. There's definitely, some parts of the game that are, pretty challenging and might take you a couple of tries, but it's nothing like, the tenacity that it takes to play through a Tropical Freeze level, like one of the more difficult ones. And it's a lot less like, trial and error. And it doesn't give you the same feeling of like mastering a game. And the way that I approach Tropical Freeze, similar to the way I think about like Dark Souls in terms of level design and game philosophy. And I think that Tropical Freeze really embodies that idea that they had a solid formula that they nailed, and they just keep upping the stakes over and over again. You think you have something figured out, and then the game throws you for a loop once again. All of a sudden the minecart section becomes 3D, and you're swapping from minecart to minecart, and like this is a game that you expect it to be a 2D side scroller all along. A perfect example also is the boss fight against the owl in the second world. It's usually you go into 2D platformer Nintendo bosses expecting really simple things, like the 2D Mario games. The boss fights are not known for being, anything too elevated. But this game, this owl boss, it's incredible what they throw at you so early on in the game in terms of making your gameplay style differ throughout the fight. There are times when you need to aggress, like when he's like throwing these feathers at you. Usually you want to hang back and, kind of bullet hell style, try to just find the gaps and get around these feathers based on the spaces in between them. But then he has, this one move where he just throws them straight at you, and like backing up, the way that the feathers expand, you're screwed if you stay in place and try to dodge them, because there's not, my cat Mochi's here. You're screwed if you stay in place, you're screwed if you go back. You actually have to roll forward and aggress towards the boss. And that's already, a really cool concept to throw at you early in the game, that the game is going to have different pace at different points, and it's going to ask such dramatically different things of you. And just the progression of that boss alone, like there's so many little interesting mechanics that develop throughout the fight. There is a point where he covers the entire screen with feathers, like the entire platform that you're on. And at first you try to outrun them, or you try to find gaps between them, and you shortly learn that it's impossible. And you might die to this a couple times without realizing the solution. And finally, you see that there are these kind of like conspicuously laid barrels on the sides of the platforms. And so you realize, oh, okay, I can jump into these and dodge the feathers. But the game, throws one more twist at you, and it's constantly doing this, where you jump in the barrel and you figure, this is Donkey Kong. Traditionally, barrels you can stay in for as long as you like, and you shoot yourself out of it. But in this case, the barrels are like the Jolly Roger kind of skull and crossbones symbol. And it means that when you jump into it, you don't choose when you come out, it automatically shoots you out. So they add this extra simple little layer where now you have to time yourself jumping into the barrel in congruence with the feathers coming down on the screen. So you have to really measure exactly what you want to do. And, I think this is just a small example of what Tropical Freeze is doing perfectly throughout its lifespan. It is constantly asking more of the player, and it is just some of the most intelligent game design that I've seen in a Nintendo game. And I think that it really speaks to, the antithetical concept of Donkey Kong Bananza versus this, where Bananza is not really asking you to think differently a lot of the time. There are definitely some things that will trip you up, and there's some creative levels, like when you have to route those ice cubes into things, and sometimes there's really unique little puzzle solutions, but generally there's no a really powerful progression of a concept. They don't they give you one thing, and they increase what you can do with it by a little bit and a little bit, and finally you get it, and generally you've pretty much figured out all that you can do with these Bananza transformations. And I will say, the one time where this is kind of overcome by the game is those final challenge levels. The final challenge levels will have you doing things that you wish the game had asked of you from these Bananza transformations throughout its runtime. Because this game could have easily embodied some of the characteristics of Tropical Freeze's intelligent kind of progression design if it had wanted to. And I think it would be an even better game for it. As amazing as Bananza is, playing this game really opened my eyes to the fact that there is a lot of missed potential in it. And that doesn't make it a bad game by any means. I gave it a 10 when I finished it. I might be, coming closer to a 9 now after all this thought. But yeah, just think about those final challenge levels and how they make you think differently about the transformations and use them in much different ways. And it really challenges you to think differently, and I love that about it. And Tropical Freeze is just that through the entire game, and in just the smallest ways and into some of the largest ways. And I think it's really unfortunate that with this new makeover for Donkey Kong, if they're only going to go in this 3D direction from now, because I don't think any 2D platformer asks as much of you and does as much of an impressive job with level progression as Tropical Freeze does. That's why I was saying it was like the Dark Souls of 2D platformers, where the quality of the design is just always surprising you. I mean, there's always something to increase the creativity that they're asking of you, to increase the demand of your reaction times and things. And I think it will be a shame if Donkey Kong loses this. If going forward, they stop making 2D games like Tropical Freeze, and they opt to mostly just make Bananza style games. It reminds me of the Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom style that Nintendo has adapted now into Zelda and its core. And if they go away from the traditional dungeon design, they never bring that kind of stuff back outside of the 2D games, which still have their core formulas. The thing is, there's going to be a lot lost in those franchises. In Zelda, you will lose the really tight, precise kind of puzzles that only have, like one solution. And while many may think like multiple solutions to a puzzle is like, an advancement of a genre, that it expands it, there is something really intrinsic about Zelda games, something so powerful about them that like when you have that eureka moment, and like this is what the game wanted you to figure out. One of the issues I had in like Tears of the Kingdom is that I could solve the puzzle just by being a moron and constructing something ridiculous that, the devs did not intend to be the real solution. And every once in a while I'll stumble along what I think was their intended solution. And some of the times it's brilliant. I'm like, oh, wow, I wish that this is what they were asking of me and that I couldn't just cheese it. And I think similarly with Tropical Freeze versus Bananza, I hope that we don't lose this kind of game, I hope that there are more games, 2D platformers like Tropical Freeze from this franchise. I don't know if there will be. It feels like, it's a new direction for DK. They completely redesigned him. They want him to be very expressive because they're going to be putting him in much larger 3D environments. But I hope I'm wrong, because I think so much will be lost that way. I don't think any other 2D platformer, at least in Nintendo's games, nails this as well as Tropical Freeze and, some of the other DK games. So, yeah, that's my spiel. I think it's very interesting if you have just played Bananza to go back and play Tropical Freeze. Oh, sorry, I'm holding my camera and I have shaky ass hands. Go back and play Tropical Freeze and just like witness an entirely different design philosophy. And, either one might land for you more. That's the thing. I'm not saying that Bananza is a worse game. I'm just saying that there's so much to appreciate in the different styles that those two games embody. And I hope that Nintendo doesn't just opt for one over the other, I hope that there can be a place for both. So that's all from me today. Thanks for watching, you guys. If you're new here, I am just, I used to be like a streamer and general content creator for specific games, but now I have just made a new channel where I'm just talking about different games, different game concepts and analyses that I love. And so, yeah, stay tuned for more. Thanks for watching.